Miami Hurricanes. Mario Cristobal been making some moves there in Coral Gables, not just with the transfer portal, but also with his recruiting. And it seems to be paying off last year with Cam Ward, Heisman hopeful. They also got so close to the playoffs this year. We have Carson Beck. He is throwing. They say he will have no restrictions come the Notre Dame game August 31st. And Athlon Sports has predicted that our Miami Hurricanes will finish 10th overall in the country, which, if you're keeping score, should get you into the playoffs this year.
That should be a 10 seed, and you probably would play. What do you play? The 5 seed or something?
Something like that. So, Summer, let's see. What does Athlon Sports have to say? The Hurricanes won the offseason thanks to the arrival of another standout recruiting class, along with a transfer portal haul that addresses several weaknesses. Of course, biggest acquisition, Georgia's Carson Beck, who I think is going to be good. He is there to replace, of course, as we know, somebody that was really good, Cam Ward. Beck suffered that significant elbow injury in the SEC championship game. That's why we're a little bit nervous. We can't start dancing all over the place yet, but he's on track to be back as the starter in the opener. Young receiving core, a lot of question marks about that receiving core, but Carson Beck hopefully can whip him into shape and we can get it going. Miami needs to lean on its offensive line, which we know is one of the strengths of the team, and ground game, which we also know is a strength of the team. Deep stable of running backs. They expect transfers CJ Daniels, Keelan Marion, Tony Johnson to ease the transition of younger receivers for Beck. So CJ Daniels from LSU, Keelan Marion, he is a BYU guy, not so much as a receiver, but more of a return guy. He's supposed to be very explosive and dynamic. And Tony Johnson was a serviceable receiver in Cincinnati. So you go out there, make some good moves. You get the big-time quarterback. You get some receivers with some experience and some explosiveness. Might be all right. So, I mean, I'm going to be.
Do you like them going to the transfer portal every year getting a quarterback?
Honestly, that's the game we play now. Yeah, we were talking about this before the show. For those that want to come out and say, oh, it's so cheap what the Miami Hurricanes do, they go out there and whatever they need, they go buy. Well, that's the game now. Yeah. And that's the game the SEC has played, honestly, better than everyone.
SEC and Big 12 has done that forever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Not just since the NIL era, SEC, Big 10. That's the game. And you know what? You can't fault someone for playing the game that they play. If you see you need a cornerback, and if you have $1 million in NIL to offer, and if you find a guy that wants to come here and play for $1 million, that's the game those are the rules we play by now. So I know the people are always going to hate on Miami, and I don't understand the big time hatred for Miami. Like even some of my friends in Louisiana, oh, I can't stand the U. I'm like, why are you mad at the U? Man, for what they did in the 80s.
It's mostly the 80s. The late 90s, early 2000s.
I didn't like Notre Dame in 1959, so I'm going to hold. It's like, what are you doing? They're a dirty.
You hated Terry Hanratty.
They're a dirty program. It's like, what are you talking about? And Miami's not breaking any rules. And like, you know, if you want to sit on your high horse, and we try to, it's hard to pile on Dabo Swinney because he did win the ACC last year.
Yeah.
But if you want to sit on your high horse and say, I don't need the transfer portal, we're going to get all local guys and all recruits. I think now Mario Cristobal understands it as much as anybody. It's more of a hodgepodge of everything. It's not getting the best recruiting class and growing them because, to be honest, half that recruiting class is going to bail on you as soon as they can. It's about getting your recruits, which is your base. It's about filling in the gaps with your transfer portal guys, and it's about paying players. I'm sorry. You want to know why schools like Miami or LSU or Texas are so successful and why Wyoming and New Mexico State are not?
Or UNLV.
UNLV, why are they not that successful?
They don't have the money.
They don't have the money. Now, they don't have the legendary programs. I understand that, but that also comes with the money. And you, as an alum or as a lifelong fan, should have no shame in that. Because honestly, it's probably not your money. Or maybe it is your money. Maybe you are in NIL and some things. If you are, then you are directly responsible for this team being good, and I appreciate that. Nonetheless, they're giving him top 10. I think they're giving him number 10 in the nation because of the question marks surrounding. I really do think Carson Beck coming off the surgery, you never know, and the receiving core, which is a little bit questionable. You also have a new defensive coordinator. They do mention Corey Heatherman. He had the Big Ten's top defense last year in Minnesota. He brings in some transfer reinforcement. They're kind of, I guess, the question marks keep it going. And I'll be honest with you, I don't have so much question marks about Carson Beck. I think Carson Beck's going to be fine. The defense, it's a long season, kind of have to wonder. But if I were doing this and I were ranking where I think Miami is going to finish the regular season, I've got them atop the ACC and probably around 8th. They're going to slip up some games, maybe not. Trevor, I don't know how you feel about this. If 10 is reasonable, if you
I think it's a good baseline.
good baseline,
I think
and you never know what's going to happen.
I don't know what's going to happen. I think out the gate you have Notre Dame and you have your 2 cupcake teams, and you have Florida and Florida State after the bye.
Right.
I want to see what happens after you play Florida and after you play Florida State, before the bye and after the bye, because those are my 2 critical games anyways, and you got to win at Pitt at the end of the year.
That's the thing. The end of the year is what scares us, and we talked about this last week, is that there's so much room to slip up, especially after a long season with injuries, with focus. This is one of those things that we're kind of worried about that. Zach, would you give us a top 10, or would you give us higher? Would you give us lower? What is your thinking on this?
Well, I think if you look at last year, I mean, if that offense had any defense behind them, they would have been in the playoffs. So I think this is a decent baseline, around 10. I think they'll be atop the ACC. I think they'll be in the ACC championship game, probably with Clemson. That would be my guess. But this offense is different. But I think the running backs, they have Jordan Lyle and Mark Fletcher from last year. They brought in Charmar Brown. He was the top FCS runner with North Dakota State.
Right. He won the Jerry Rice Award.
Correct. So they have those 3 guys behind what we call the Great Wall of Mirabal.
I love it.
So
that's the reason.
For sure.
That's the reason to believe right there, is because you can have injuries here, there, and everywhere. But if you have solid offensive and defensive lines, Miami Dolphins, that's something you can ride. You can stay behind.
Like selling to like the recruits, like we can make you a real, true like offensive lineman for the NFL is huge, anyways.
Yeah, and I mean, look, that's what Mario Cristobal's done. We have the number 1 recruit in the nation coming in next year. He's going to be coming to Miami because number 1, Mario Cristobal, the offensive line, the belief in the program, but also there is money, and that's okay. That's absolutely fine. But I really do. That's the one thing you can't change is, and we know from the Dolphins, which is a night and day from the Hurricanes. Hurricanes are offense and defensive line. Boom. That's something that you can stand behind. That's something that can bolster your team throughout the year, especially in a long season. Dolphins don't have that structure and that strength in the line, and we see how up and down you can really be, and sometimes kind of down with that. So that's why I believe this team is going to be steady enough. You win some you're not supposed to win. You lose some you're not supposed to lose. You know, that's one of the things.
That's sports and that's football.
That's every team everywhere pretty much, except for the one team that wins the whole thing, you know, and they even sometimes lose some games they're not supposed to. But Mario Cristobal, man, he's got it. Carson Beck, somewhat of a question mark. I know we're going to have Alex Dono on tomorrow. He's going to explain to us why Carson Beck is going to be great this year, which I'm very excited to hear. But they're even saying it. 2025 Hurricanes look like a well-rounded team.
My big thing on that schedule I've looked at is that SMU game. It's Rhett Lashley. He kind of knows what the Hurricanes do, and it's also in Dallas, and it's also maybe a cold SEC game.
And one thing we know about Rhett Lashley is he can scheme up some offenses, and we got a question mark at the defense. Corey Heatherman, like I said, did good at Minnesota. Of course, you're in Indiana. You got to probably see a little bit of Minnesota in Big Ten country.
Big Ten West.
Is it Big Ten West? Then
I still call it the Big Ten West anyways.
But we'll see. That's kind of the question mark right there. Season is shaking out good for the Miami Hurricanes, and we're just going to have to wait and see how Carson Beck continues to progress. We heard last week from Mario Cristobal saying that he should be when he say unhinged, untethered. He should be out there. He should be fine. He should be nothing holding him back. He should be totally great. Season does shake up to be pretty good. Like you said, the first game, it's a doozy of a game to open, but
it'll be a fun game though. That Notre Dame game right out the gate's gonna be a fun one.
But
Sunday night, 7:30.
National,
world's gonna be watching.
Yeah, national game that week. It's right here on 560 WQAM. It's also the national runner-up. It's a rivalry though. You're at home.
They have a new quarterback too, a freshman coming in to play his first game at the Rock.
Ooh, that's nice. So that's a nice little inside tip right there. Miami gets it going. Then Bethune-Cookman, South Florida. I thought South Florida would put up a little more fight last year. They did not.
We worked that game last year.
Yeah.
we worked that game.
Florida in a revenge game. You know how I feel about revenge games. Florida State, it's a rivalry. It's always going to be interesting.
After the bye week, by the way.
Right. And Louisville, that's always tricky. Stanford, they're coming here, so we don't have to go out there. SMU, like you said, that can be tricky. They were runner-ups in the ACC last year, had a really unbelievable season. Do they come back down to earth this year is the question you're going to have to ask.
Good program, good to watch what they could do anyways. And plus, they have money too also.
Yeah, of course, Dallas, man. It's unbelievable.
SMU.
You want to talk about a tradition?
Tradition unlike no other.
I mean, they got a tradition of money, man. That's for sure. They know what they're doing. Syracuse is always scary, man.
Yeah.
It's just they're never an easy out, at least for Miami. They're not. NC State, we've had our epic battles with them over the years. Virginia Tech, you got to go to Blacksburg, November 22nd. And
Then you
got
end the season at Pittsburgh.
at Pitt. So you end on 2 road games in the conference.
Classic Big East games back in the day.
But that's why you got that offensive line. That's why you got the defensive line at the late parts of the season in the road. With the weather being whatever it may be, that's something you can lean on. And I've actually talked to a bunch of guys over the years in my experience that have played college and pro football. And a lot of the guys will tell you this. When it comes to skill players and position players, colleges are pretty even.
Yeah.
They were telling me, whether you played at Louisiana Tech or you played at USC, they do their 7-on-7s, and they're like, those guys weren't much better than me. I'm like, then what's the difference? Why are schools like, let's say, Miami? Why are schools like Alabama? So they're like, the difference is in the trenches. They have bigger, stronger, faster guys that can push people around. They're like, skill position wise, they're here and there and everywhere, but it's all the best teams are the ones that have offensive and defensive lines.
And Miami should have what I think is going to be a top 5 pick in Francis Maui-Noah in the next draft.
He's been as good as advertised. He was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. He stuck with the U. He has not transferred. No. He has stayed right here. He's been fantastic.
Even brought his brother in to play linebacker.
You got to have package deals sometimes. Package deals are also part of the game.
Jalen Rivers last year was great on the offensive line anyways for the Canes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, they start put guys in the pros. That's a sign that you've got more talent in here. But that's the big difference. And, it's so crazy. We get away sometimes from facts of sports, like, you need Tyreek Hill, you need the fastest guys on the field. When it all comes down to, if you're bigger, stronger, faster, more physical, you're probably going to be a better team.
Yeah.
Same thing in basketball. Oh, the center is obsolete. Now it's kind of getting back to like, the center isn't exactly obsolete.
The center is back anyways.
Baseball, eventually they're going to wake up and say, your batting average is kind of important. Man, I'll tell you,
it's not about launch angle these days and throwing 100 anymore.
Going to see these guys batting like 182 and 205, I was like, oh my God.
It makes you appreciate Adam Dunn back in the day.
It makes you really appreciate. Oh, Luis Arias. Oh. But the U, I'm standing behind that offensive line, that defensive line. I'm standing with the U. I think higher. And I know, higher than the 10th best team in the country this year. Like I said, you might slip up one of these games that you're supposed to win. Like Louisville's scary a little bit. Syracuse on a Friday night too. I know the schedule's all over the place, but then you might win one. When I say you're not supposed to win, you might beat Notre Dame, start the season hot, something like that. So
it's relatively favorable.
It is a favorable
start of the year.
It is a favorable schedule. If you can get by Notre Dame or win against Notre Dame, Bethune-Cookman, South Florida was turning it on at the end of the year last year, but you get a win because you get them at home. Florida State, the rivalry, you get that. Then you have probably not even probably. These are going to be games you're all going to be favored in if that plays out like that, because you should be favored against Louisville, should be favored against Stanford. SMU should be favored against
that would be a good game, though.
Once again, if they're at the undefeated part, then Syracuse, NC State, Virginia Tech, Pitt.
I think your road trap, the big trap games are the Florida State, Pittsburgh, and Virginia Tech.
Those last 2 road games.
Those are the ones I'm really questionable for, but it's like it's end of the season, it's like crunch time anyways. It's money time. Are you going to make it to the ACC title game, which you haven't been there since 2017?
Oh, man.
I'm not saying make it or break it for Cristobal, but it's like you got to win those cold weather games.
Yeah, and that's where you're going to have to run the ball. And we got a stable of running backs, which we talked about. Jordan Lyles and those guys are pretty darn good. That's what you're going to have to lean on at the end of the season, because you're going to be out there in the elements on the road with a lot of tape on your team. When I say tape, a lot of film's been watched. You're not surprising people too much. It's tough wins right there. That's the money wins right there. You can get into the ACC championship game. Is it in Charlotte again this year?
It's always in Charlotte.
It's always in Charlotte.
Can we put it in a real cool city?
I was about to say, man, you reward us by Charlotte? Charlotte?
This is the ACC. We really care about the basketball. We got to keep everything in Charlotte.
No, man.
You should have seen this. The ACC baseball tournament. It's in Durham.
Okay.
I mean, it's a home field advantage.
Yeah.
Today, Florida State's playing North Carolina at 5:00.
Oh, goodness.
It's like almost all Carolina blue around the whole stadium.
Yeah, because you're in that research triangle right there. So it favors Duke, North Carolina, and NC State.
Wake Forest.
And Wake Forest, yeah.
You know who does it at real Major League Baseball stadiums? The Big 12. They're putting it at Globe Life Park in Dallas, in Arlington.
Nice.
Could we get the ACC baseball tournament at Marlins Park?
Oh, Lone Depot.
Put it at Lone Depot.
That'd be nice.
That would be nice. Like, I know people would love to come down to South Florida.
Absolutely.
Hello. hello ACC. I know you're on the dial right now, but like, come on, bring the baseball tournament to a Major League Baseball stadium.
I'm a big fan of championship games alternating spots. They can be like, I always thought the SEC championship for football, it's always in Atlanta. I thought that it should alternate years between Atlanta, New Orleans, Houston, maybe even Dallas.
Dallas has the Big 12 though.
That way it gives it a fair advantage to the East and West and everything like that. I hate when they do like every year in Charlotte, because for us in Miami, that's not an easy trip.
That's a 12-hour drive.
Yeah, it's a trip. If you do 1 year in Miami, 1 year in Charlotte, 1 year in
Jacksonville.
Yeah, 1 year in Atlanta if you want. I know there's all it's like, why not do that?
Just do one in Miami and do one in like Charlotte and do one in Jacksonville. That's what it used to be, or Tampa.
The old conferences say screw yourself, man.
Yeah.
You're just lucky you're here. You're lucky to be here. So
just remember the ACC, those old people up there in Charlotte, like, you'll be next anyways on the chopping block.
We'll see how we finish out this year. Let's get Carson Beck going. Let's get this team flowing. And like I said, the recruits are still coming in. The number 1 overall recruiting offensive lineman out of Missouri the next season. They're actually even recruiting a guy for the 2027 season, I saw. So this guy that's the number 1 recruit is actually paying it forward by trying to recruit the next year's like number 1 or 2 recruits. So baby, it could be back. And I know for young people like Zach, who have never really been a part of the lore of it, to where, you know how we talk about how easy it is to be a Panthers fan right now? The U like in the 80s and the U in the 2000.
Wearing a Canes jersey up in Connecticut was kind of cool back then.
Yeah, it was easy to be a fan, man. Going into these games, you have an excitement, not a nervousness or an eagerness. You're like, oh, let's see how bad this is going to be for them tonight. Yeah.
Well, back then you knew they were going to win at home. 58 wins in a row. I mean, and now here we are. Well, maybe with the U is coming back.
I think we got this. I really am feeling it, and I'm not just saying that. I'm feeling it, and I really do feel what Mario Cristobal is doing. So I'm excited about this season. Like I said, every team has question marks. Like you said, Notre Dame has a freshman quarterback coming in to Hard Rock Stadium. We got a quarterback coming off an injury. We got some receivers that are questionable, new defensive coordinator, but question marks are going to be question marks. Let's get it going. August 31st, 7:30, right here, 560 WQAM, Catholics versus Convicts. I'm excited. I'm getting excited.
I'm Catholic. How am I a convict too?
You can be both, man. Many a Catholic or
Bernie Kosar said it best.
Many a convict or Catholic, and many Catholics are convicts, man. That's just the way it is.